into College Corner, Saturday in college hoops, an awesome slate ahead of us, a ton of games to get to. I got 5 plays for you guys, more than usual video. Earlier this week, Wednesday's video. 1 and 2 on the day for the YouTube, but we did go 5 and 2 on Twitter. Now, I know if you just watched the YouTube video, you did not make money, but I, again, have to emphasize, drop me a follow on Twitter. I get to these lines super early. Not all the games are out, so I do end up finding more, and it'd be best if you tail all the plays that I do have in a given day. Very, very confident we can make money here on Saturday. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well if you're new, and let's jump into some awesome games here. First up, we head to the Big Ten. I like Illinois minus 9.5 against Iowa quite a bit here. So when I see a situational spot that matches up really well with how I usually handicap these games, I love it. I will be willing to play some of these bigger spreads here with Illinois. So Illinois is coming off a pretty embarrassing loss the other night to Penn State. Blew what was like a 7-point lead with maybe 45 seconds left. Ended up losing the game outright in regulation. Definitely a team that I think comes focused here, ready to play at home. Iowa, meanwhile, coming off 2 massive wins. Wisconsin, Michigan State, both games down to the wire. Wisconsin game went to overtime as well. So I think this team might be a little bit worn out. You know, we saw UConn in their loss to Creighton have a really emotional game on Saturday against Marquette and looked a little bit spent during the week. I think we get something similar here with this Iowa team in a letdown spot. But not only that, matchup is great. So this Iowa team, they don't take many threes. They look to attack inside. And this is where the Hawkeyes are, I think, really going to struggle. They get almost 59% of their points from 2, which is 16th in the country. So we got to find a defense that can stop teams on the interior. And that's exactly what Illinois does. Their opponents are shooting just 45.6% from 2 on the season. Top 24 in college basketball. Illinois has got great size with Coleman Hawkins to be able to defend inside effectively. And then for the Illini, they're going to have a massive advantage on the glass. This is a team that's top 50 rebounding-wise on both ends, whereas Iowa's kind of bottom half of the country when it comes to offensive rebounding, and then really poor in defensive rebounding, 253rd. So Illinois should be able to keep any second chance opportunities away from Iowa and should be able to grab some of their own on the other end, where Iowa's defense has not been performing well this season. This is an Iowa team that struggled to defend from 3 specifically. Over 35% their opponents are shooting. That's 284th in college basketball. You're looking at guys like Hawkins, I mentioned, good. Terrence Shannon. These are effective knockdown shooters that I do think will make you pay. So I'm willing to lay this big number with Illinois in a spot where they look to bounce back after a really rough loss. So give me them here minus 9.5 at home. Now to the ACC we go. Probably best game of the day in the ACC, that is Wake Forest. I'm taking the money line at home against Duke. Now, these two teams did play, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. Duke won that game 77-69. But when you look into the game score, and I like to do that when I see teams meeting up again, what do we see do we expect to be replicated? What do we see that should probably stay the same in a future matchup? Well, one that should not stay the same in this game is Wake shooting just 39% from the field. They did not shoot well in that game on the road. They come back home here, a team at home that is a perfect 14-0 straight up and 10-3-1 against the spread. Now, we got a blue blood here, Duke coming to town, but I think this is a matchup that they can still effectively get the ball up and shoot much more efficiently in this game. So they are a super efficient offense. That's a big reason why I think they bounce back here. But they're 36th in the country, or 35th in the country in effective field goal percentage, and they've got a knockdown shooter like Hunter Sallis who's shooting like 45% on the season from 3. They can score across the board here and get their points. But not only that, they have a very strong defense that I think still shows up. With Andrew Carr and Efton Reed, they have the size to match up with Mark Mitchell, and Filipowski and Kyle Filipowski. So I do think you're going to be looking at a team that can defend the interior with these guys with the size they have of their own to match up. They're a good defensive rebounding team that can keep these sizable matchups in Mark Mitchell and Kyle Filipowski away from the rim. And their opponents are shooting right around 31% from 3. So even if they got the size to defend inside, their guards can still defend well at the perimeter. I think Wake takes this game. They're a short favorite here. I take them on the money line. I think they're a favorite for good reason. Let's lay these. If you want to, lay the 1.5, but pay a bit of the juice here and take them on the money line, I think. Now, to the best game of the day, Kentucky, Alabama. I like Kentucky here on the money line. This is a perfect situational spot for me. Kentucky fell on a buzzer beater loss to LSU on Wednesday night. Alabama coming into town having pulled off the win over Florida. Really big. That game went to overtime as well. Yeah, that game went to overtime. Ton of points in that game. They scored in the mid to high 90s. Took a lot of energy, I think, out of this Bama team. And for Kentucky, Coming off that loss, they have lost 3 of 4, their last 4 at Rupp Arena. Ends here. This team is going to win at home in this spot, okay? Alabama is a team that I don't completely trust. They're a streaky offense that's super reliant on threes, and I do not trust them in a road matchup against another efficient offense. And that's what we have here. You look at Tennessee and Auburn, 2 teams that blew them out at home against Alabama. This is another one of those spots I think you have with Kentucky, because Kentucky has a great offense, but as much as their defense has struggled for a large part of the season, there is something I think they can do effectively, which is going to be really important here, is defending the three, because Bama is one of the highest volume three-point shooting teams in the country. That's why I say they're streaky. If they're not knocking down these threes, they don't stand much of a chance in this game. And Kentucky's got a pretty solid three-point defense. Below 32% their opponents are shooting, 67th in the country. That could be enough to get the job done here, because Kentucky can score in a multitude of ways. You know, they have knockdown shooters in Shepard and Reeves, and then they have guys like Mitchell. Dillingham kind of can score all over the place, but they have guys that can score on the interior as well. And Bama hasn't done a great job of protecting the rim. Defensive rebounding wise, haven't been great, and their interior defense has been pretty mediocre. Right around 50% their opponents are shooting. So I think Kentucky at home, being at Rupp Arena, needing to get back on track here, I think that the emphasis of that rings true for this team, and they come out with one of their better performances of the season. Pull this thing out, and what I love even more is you're getting Kentucky at home, and you're getting them basically at a pick'em spot against this Bama team. I will happily take it here. So give me Kentucky on the money line. I'm just realizing this now. We're actually betting on every single power conference. Texas plus 7.5 against Kansas. Actually, I guess we're not betting on the Big East, but I like Texas quite a bit here. This is a statement win opportunity for UT. They have not put together one of those type of games or one of those big time signature wins to really assert themselves into the tournament picture. Like they're in right now, but got to finish the season strong if they want to ensure their spot. I think this is the perfect opportunity to do so. Now, the Jayhawks are perfect at Allen Fieldhouse. They haven't lost. This Kansas team has been pretty brutal on the road and very good at home. So by no means is this a cakewalk spot. That's why they're a 7.5 point dog. But I think this defense and this team can do enough to cover this number and I think give themselves a chance to win this game. So this Kansas team looks to get vast majority, pretty much all of their points from 2. With McCullough and Dickinson, this team attacks the interior, attacks the rim, and looks to score there. And don't take much of any threes. They're 322nd in the country in three-point rate this season. So they're looking to score on the inside, and Texas has answers. With Dessou and the size they have at a couple of their spots defensively, they're a very good 2-point defense. Their opponents are shooting 46.5% on the season, 38th in the country. So this is a team that can answer Kansas's offense. And as good as McCullough has been this season, they're not a team that's been super effective 3-point wise. And he's one of those guys that's not a very effective 3-point shooter, shooting around 35% on the season from 3. So I do think that there's an advantage here because Texas has Max Abmas. This is a team that can score from 3 because Kansas, very good interior defense as well. But they do have their opponents taking a lot of threes. They're a top 10 2-point defense, so their opponents are forced to play a little bit more in the perimeter, and Abmas is completely capable of doing that. Dessou even actually is shooting 55% from 3 on like 60 shots from 3. So if Dessou and Abmas can knock down some threes and play on the perimeter well, I think they can stay in this game, and they compete pretty well on the road. Like this isn't a team that is drastically different home road. Have a couple decent road wins in the last month here or so. TCU and Oklahoma are ones that stick out as pretty solid wins on the road. Now, again, do they need to win this game to cover? Absolutely not. 7.5 points is a game where if they can compete and stick around, they're going to give themselves a chance to be inside this number. And I'm a big fan of this Texas team. I think they can make some noise here late in the season, and it starts right here at Allen Fieldhouse. So I'll take the points with them at 7.5. Last one, we go to the Pac-12. Another big game here, Utah at Colorado. I'm going to take the Utah plus 5.5. Had a big bet on them actually last weekend on Sunday. One of my bigger bets of the season on Utah against UCLA. Pulled that thing out real late there on the money line. Both of these teams as well actually have not played in about a week or so. For Colorado, it was last Saturday. For Utah, it was last Sunday. But Colorado's offensive attack is pretty similar to UCLA. Like they very, very seldomly are taking any perimeter shots. They're scoring on the inside, getting to the free throw line at a pretty high rate. And that's what Utah, matches up well for. They defend well here, and they showed that against UCLA. Now, this is not as efficient of an offense, This is a much more efficient offense than UCLA's offense in Colorado. They've got some talent to score for sure, but Utah's a top 42-point defense. Brendan Carlson and that size can protect the rim, and they do a great job of defending without fouling. They're actually top 20 in the country in opponent free throw rate. So where I think, there's a better offense from Colorado compared to UCLA, there isn't as good of a defense from Colorado as there is from UCLA. And the Utes, I think, can take advantage of that. Expect them to kind of get theirs at the three-point line from Madsen and Bajima. These are two guys that are very efficient three-point shooters for the Utes. And Colorado ranking 219th in three-point defense. The Utes do take a good volume of threes too, so they're comfortable doing so. What will be interesting here is the matchup between Brendan Carlson and Eddie Lampkin. Who has the advantage there? Is Carlson able to continue to put up the numbers he has been all season? That will go a long way in Utah being able to cover this number. But man, getting 5.5 points with this team, I know it's on the road. I got no problem with. The team played very well on the road at UCLA last week. I think they can do it here too. A weekend spot here with Colorado. I'll take the Utes at plus 5.5. All right, those are my 5 favorite plays in college basketball for Saturday. Awesome slate. Again, guys, if you're looking for more, which I'll definitely have more, hit me a follow on Twitter. I'll include that link down below in the description. And again, guys, I'm getting to these lines super early here on Friday. So if they do move and you have any questions about whether or not you should still play them, drop me a comment down below, and even drop a comment of any college basketball bets you're looking to make for this awesome slate. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.